NSFW, what's the horniest thing you've ever done? Sexted with a friend where there was a mutual interest. Then we had our first kiss couple days later during a game of truth or dare. We were in our early 20s but our friend group was dorky AF. Then for the first time the next day. We wound up being FWBs for nearly 2 years. As a 9-year-old I used Play-Doh to fashion a fleshlight for myself when I first learned about masturbation. Still makes me cringe to this day thinking about it. I went to a woman's house, late at night, in rural upstate NY. We had been talking to each other via email at the time about 1997. We met via Yahoo Personals. Neither of us knew what the other looked like. Not everyone had a scanned picture. I went over at 11 p.m. on a Friday night. I didn't have a roommate at the time. Went into a completely dark house, located in the woods, and had sex with a woman whom I had known for a couple of weeks with just several phone calls between us. When the morning came, we were both attracted to each other. We ended up dating for almost a year. It worked out. But seriously, it was stupid thing to do. Masturbated with a Halloween monster glove. I enjoyed the hell out of it but lost those gloves. Jerked off in my middle school bathroom. And before you sickos say anything, I was in middle school at the time. Oh, I also found a box of Playboys stashed in a bathroom closet at a storage building. Laid all the centerfolds out. And went to town. Use a rubber glove and a roll of toilet paper. Put the rubber glove inside the roll, put lubricant and use it as a flashlight. I forgot to mention they are mechanic gloves. How is the light produced? Is it some sort of chemical reaction? Fap with friends in a cemetery. Hold up, WTF. Jerked off in every room in the house in one day. Jacked off in the ocean. I was on holiday with my mum and we were sharing a room. I took a late evening dip and was curious to see if I could jack off while my dick was underwater. Since I hadn't done it for the past week I nutted pretty quickly, then just kind of swam around for a bit. Laying on the couch watching TV, the thought of this girl I talked to earlier in the day came into my head. In particular her rear end. I started playing with myself under the blanket. With my dad in the next room over and no closed doors in between. Cycled for 4 hours to get to a woman's home in India who had matched with me on Tinder. The chat got very heated quickly and she wanted to f*** a white guy. The reason I cycled was because I was on a round-the-world bike trip. Amazingly it was completely legit and we pretty much had sex on and off for 24 hours. And we were having sex within 10 minutes of seeing each other for the first time. I cannot describe how horny I was, getting messages from her as I got closer and closer to her home. Fingered a girl while 2 of her friends were laying in the bed below. It was a loft bed. One of them in a call with her brother. Also, with the same girl. I was sexting while sitting in the bus while in sweatpants and had a really hard time hiding my boner. My parents weren't home all day and I was expecting my period. I jerked off 32 times before I lost count. You call it jerking off for a girl? I'm a girl too, so I'm confused. My native language isn't English and I hate the words masturbation and fap. So that's gotta have to do. Getting off is the most common one I've heard for ladies. Humped my school bag when I was 14 or something. I was too horny because I saw this beautiful lady in my aunt's neighborhood. She probably noticed the little soldier standing. Because she always gave me this weird but not affirming smile whenever we came across each other. I'd give you a weird look if you came across me too. Had surgery that prevented me from using my PP for a month. That's the horniest thing you've ever done? I think the horniest I've ever been was when I was convinced by a FWB to pop some speed and Viagra. She was limping for a few days as a result. Edged for 6 hours in one sitting. There's a time in masturbation where you feel like you're gonna have a really good orgasm but then you think, nah, let's keep this going. Then you keep going and the pleasure vanishes and now you're just bored thinking, why did I do that? Should I even come at this point? I was at my grandparents' house, sharing a room with my sibling and all 4 other bedrooms were full of sleeping family members. I was so horny I went into the bathroom to be quiet about it. Thing about girls is, super horny equals super wet equals can't feel friction plus clit is so sensitive it's in overload equals no orgasm. Was a very frustrated swamp. The couch. Was it a pull-out? Running to a convenience store at 3 a.m. with a guy the first just met to buy condoms and 2 bottles of Gatorade so we could do it on an air mattress in the living room of my sister's house, at 3 a.m. Whacked off to a CVS weekly ad. Had sex 9 times in one day. I have no idea what was up with me, I just could keep going again and again. Last few times weren't great but I kept going back. We were both sore for a while after. 10 out of 10 would not do again. Dry humping while making out at the back of my school. 11:30 p.m. Humped a keg. Masturbated in the same room as family. In high school me and a guy jerked each other off in the bathroom. Also found out how I was bisexual. Went to an adult theater. When I got in I undressed into panties, thigh-high socks and a skirt and invites dude in as I sucked them off. Premarital handholding. One time I drank Gatorade. One time I was really horny so I asked my wife if we could have sex. She said yes. Total win. No regrets. I once jacked it to VeggieTales LMAO. What you've done has made God very unhappy. My college roommate ended up being a week late to orientation. In that week, I met and got the Skype details of an online dome and she had me edge a whole night and only finished by wrapping a lanyard tightly around myself and finishing to her rubbing grapes on her nipples. She trying to turn that milk into wine or what? When I was about 15 I got an erection so intense that I was screaming in pain. This was before I figured out was masturbation was so I had no way to relieve the pressure. You were meant to use a hammer. My mom went shopping at JCPenney and I was waiting in the car. I was about 13 and I was horny ASF. She had some tissues in the car and I jerked off into them. I didn't want to litter so I just put them in my pocket till I got home. Shivers while coming and coming 3 times in a row without stopping. I'm a guy. You that's God level right there. You didn't even wait to replenish the tanks? Offered a girl a $90 cab ride to my place. She declined me but it worked out I married her 10 years ago. She was well worth the wait. Truthfully and yes she knows she was supposed to be a booty call. But that booty so good I married her. Probably jerked off in the back seat while on a family road trip. Not my proudest moment. Was 12 or 13 and just discovered masturbation about a week before. Using magnets as anal beads. I have no shame. This is actually moderately dangerous. Unlike most of the other stuff here. Don't try this at home kids. Jacked off and noticed my neighbor watching me. We held eye contact and for some unknown reason I just kept going while just holding eye contact. Did it enhance or ruin the process lol? Drove an hour in to see a girl I had previously made out with because she said she needed a buddy for the night. Got to her place around 9. Hung out with her and her roommate for a little bit then went to the bedroom. She totally shut down my attempts to initiate anything physical and said it was just the alcohol talking earlier and that she was not DTF at all. So we just cuddled for a bit and fell asleep. At 3 a.m. she wakes up and runs out of the room. I'm like okay WTF and then go back to sleep. Next thing I know she turns on the lights and tells me to get out. Had a very long drive in total confusion back to my place. Got home at 4:30 a.m. Virginity still 100% intact. Wrote a fanfic between me and Freddy Krueger. When you nut in your dreams, you nut for real. My ex was getting a little handsy under the covers with my tackle while we were watching TV at her parents' place. Her parents are in the kitchen and wouldn't you know it some of their family friends showed up. Well somehow nobody noticed. They left and her parents went to bed while we watched Polar Express. I finger banged her while her parents were sleeping on the other side of the wall about 30 feet away. Polar Express. That time I had sex with this guy like 30 times in 4 days. In high school I was in band, and I played the saxophone. Anyway one night I was super horny and my porno magazines were not at home at the time as I let my friend borrow them. This was a time before phones so I couldn't go online and get some hardcore porn straight away. Long story short I stuck my dick in the saxophone and wrote it. Rubbed one out in the middle of class in the back a few times. Not my proudest moment. I jacked off to TV commercials just to see if I could. They weren't even sexual or hot in the slightest but I still busted a nut before my show came back on. Jerked off 20 plus times in a day. Turns out coming too much in a short period of time can give you a splitting headache too. Played the trumpet. I have a tromboner just thinking about it. When IF was about 17 to 18, I was forced to share a room with my then 13-ish-year-old brother. He would watch porn when he thought I was asleep. I would watch too and get myself off. Banjo music intensifies. My husband and my first date lasted 3 days. The only time we went outside was to get more condoms and some Gatorade and snacks from around the corner. It took us a week to have a real date because we'd end up just jumping in bed and would never even make it out the door. This is the second person who said that they got Gatorade at the same time as condoms. Is there something I'm not picking up? I made a woman out of clothes and a styrofoam head and made out with her. SMH I was 12. That boy ain't right. Jerked off into a random dirty cup I found in a parking lot. Was sexting a girl and got too turned on to make it home. Parked in the lot. Found some litter. And bust in it. Back in high school one time I jerked off 11 times in one day, between 6 a.m. and 1 a.m. My dick was in so much pain and I couldn't move for a day or so. Don't do that. One time when I went to church I excused myself to the bathroom and went used the fastest hand in the Wild West so I could nut and get back in a few minutes. I 100% my pillow. First, I make a slit, not too long, careful as to not rip the edges, making what I call the husband stitch. Then, I take 2 Ziploc bags and I fill them with Amy's organic lentil soup, which I microwave to exactly 98.6 degrees, not enough to burn you, but just enough to feel warm and inviting. Then I place them in the slit of the pillow. There's another slit in the back, but that's only for my birthday. Okay, Jay. Made an apple pie and sipped tea while wearing an oversized cardigan and reading about Norman Rockwell.